Hello and welcome to the OSU Postgame Show brewed by Royal Docks Brewing Company, folks. And the Buckeyes win tonight. They're 3-0, but 49-27. You can see on the bottom of the page here the final score. 35-3 at halftime, and I think the Buckeyes thought the game was over and done right there because they didn't come out and play hardly at all in the second half. Now, don't get me wrong, a win's a win, and you'll take it in this pandemic season any way you can get it. However, Ryan Day cannot be happy with what he saw from his team in the second half. There's no way he can be happy at all with what he saw in the second half. The Buckeyes were outscored in the second half 24-14. Okay, yeah, they were in control of the game at halftime. It was 35-3. They were the better team, no question. They're 3-0. They're ranked number 3 in the country, and that's great. But as we move along in this season and as we break things down after every game, we're going to talk about the good and the bad during a win or a loss. Hopefully there are no losses. And in this case, yeah, the Buckeyes won by 22. The point spread was 38. So if you gave the 38, you lost. The Buckeyes did not cover in this game. And Greg Schiano pulled out some trickeration, the double pass on a punt return, a kickoff return. They ran some other trick plays and whatnot. And that might have caught Ohio State a little off guard. But the bottom line is Ohio State did not play well consistently for 4 quarters. And that was one of the things, if you watched in the pregame show, Ryan Day talked about, hey, can we be consistent? That's what we want to do. We've got to get better each week and be consistent. Well, they were consistent in the first half, 35-3. I'll give you the numbers. We'll do the good and the bad with Ohio State. We'll take your questions. Send me your questions on Facebook. Send me your questions on Twitter. And we'll get to as many of those questions or comments as possible, okay? But in the first half, the good. Ohio State 35, Rutgers 3. Ohio State 353 yards, Rutgers 83. Okay? Dominated the first half. No question about it. Justin Fields in the first half, 15 of 17, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran for a touchdown. So, he was spectacular again. Just the one consistent, there are 3 consistent things for the Ohio State Buckeyes so far. Well, actually 4 consistent things for the Buckeyes so far. Justin Fields is consistently brilliant. Chris Olave is consistently very good. Garrett Wilson is consistently outstanding. And the Ohio State running game is average at best, consistently average at best. Master Teague, Trey Sermon, and I was complaining, why didn't we see Steel Chambers? Well, he carried the ball 3 times tonight, I think, 1 on a fake punt and 2 other carries, and he put it on the turf twice. They recovered it once, and he lost one. So maybe that's why we're not seeing more of Steel Chambers, because he coughs up the football. But the Ohio State running game consistently average at best at this point. Okay? But in the first half, total domination by the Buckeyes. Hey, tip of the cap to Greg Schiano and Rutgers in the second half for outscoring the Buckeyes 24-14, not giving up, playing hard, trickeration, doing whatever they could to score and make the game interesting. And they did. Buckeyes were never in danger of losing this game, don't get me wrong, but 49-27 the final. And I guess the good thing that comes out of this is that Ryan Day will have some very teachable moments that he can use to get on his players about their lack of performance in the second half tonight. And the fact that when you play tougher teams, and I know you look at Ohio State's schedule, who do they have next? Maryland, and they've got Tua Tagovailoa's brother playing for Maryland, and he's pretty good. It's been up and down so far in the games he's played this year. But as you get into maybe some tougher road game situations at Michigan State, I know Michigan lost again today to Indiana, so you say, well, that's not going to be a tough game. It's still a rivalry game, right? You've got to play 4 quarters, and the Buckeyes have yet to play 4 quarters, in my opinion. 4 good quarters, in my opinion. All right? Who'd they beat in week 1? Nebraska, 52-17. They win by 13 at Penn State last week. and play a dominant first half and a crappy second half here today. So they have yet to put 4 full quarters together. And maybe that's, because of the pandemic, because of COVID and the lack of contact in practices, the lack of non-conference games to start the season. I mean, you're right into the conference. Boom, boom, boom. 3 conference games, Nebraska, Penn State, and tonight you have Rutgers. But you should have beat Rutgers by 5 touchdowns. The spread was 38. There was a reason the spread was 38. And they win by 22. But I do want to talk about Justin Fields. And I was putting together some numbers here about Justin Fields. By the way, tonight, let me get my sheets in order here for you here on the Royal Docks Brewing Company OSU Postgame Show. Justin Fields tonight, 24 of 28, 314 yards, 5 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions or fumbles, 6 carries, 7 yards, and a touchdown run. So he had 6 touchdowns tonight, 5 throwing, 1 rushing. On the season, Justin Fields now. Me, if I'm voting, front runner for the Heisman right now. Justin Fields. 72 of 83 passing. He's missed on 5. No, wait, hold on. I can't add. Where's my pen here? Hold on, let me see. 5, 13. What's it? 52, 72. So he missed on 1. He missed on. No, I was right the first time. It's late. 72 of 83 passing. 87% completion percentage. Think about that. What's good in the NFL? 60%, 62% is good in the NFL. It used to be, hey, 50% is good. Then it's, you got to be between 60 and 65 to be elite in the NFL. Justin Fields in 3 games has thrown 11 incompletions. And at least from my memory, at least 3 of those 11 incompletions have been drops, including 1 tonight. 72 of 83, 908 yards passing, 11 touchdowns for Justin Fields, 0 interceptions. 11 TDs, 0 interceptions for Justin Fields. Front runner for the Heisman. Campaign to get the Big Ten to bring back football after they canceled it because of the pandemic. Sent out the position, showing his leadership, and now backing it up. You talk about, talking the talk and backing it up, okay? You better go out there and do it. And he's walking that talk after talking that talk and is just dominating college football. 908 yards passing, 57 yards rushing so far, 11 TD passes, 2 touchdown runs. That's 13 TDs in 3 games, 0 interceptions, 0 fumbles. He has yet to turn the ball over. Spectacular performance so far by Justin Fields, not only tonight, but in the first 3 games. Now, granted, it's Nebraska, it's Penn State, it's Rutgers, but still, if we're going to say they're struggling a little bit because they didn't have a non-conference game and there wasn't contact in practices, well, it doesn't seem to be bothering Justin Fields whatsoever. So Justin Fields has been outstanding in the first 3 games. Tip of the cap, we raised the glass of a Royal Docks brew to Justin Fields for his performance tonight and through the first 3 games. You can see his numbers there on the bottom of the screen. Garrett Wilson, we talk about being consistent. Garrett Wilson, 3 games started this year for the Buckeyes at wide receiver. 3 100-yard receiving games. 24 catches, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns tonight, 6 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Now, he did get a little dinged late in the game, and I want to try and find out. I'll be searching Twitter here in a little bit to see what the latest is on him. I hope it's nothing serious because, like I've told you since the beginning of the season, before the season started, I told you Garrett Wilson's going to be playing on Sundays and will be a 1st or 2nd round pick in the NFL draft. Well, he's showing you why. Okay, he got hurt on the punt return. He's averaging 8 catches a game, over 100 yards a game, and just under a touchdown a game so far in the first 3 games. Oh, yeah, and he's carried the ball twice for 67 yards on 2 jet sweeps so far, right? Chris Olave, 2 touchdown grabs tonight, 5 catches, 64 yards. He's averaging just under 100 yards a game. He has 4 TD grabs on the season. So, for me, Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, that trio is the reason the Buckeyes have been dominating offensively. Defensively, the Buckeyes have given up 17. Let me mark in my final scores here. 17, 25, and tonight, 27 points. So what are we seeing there defensively? And I know big leads, you play some of the younger guys or you don't have the same intensity. I get it. But still, what are we seeing? 17 points, 25 points, 27 points. Defense giving up more points each game so far against 2 out of the 3 of the teams they played so far not considered threats in the Big Ten. Cupcakes in the Big Ten. Kerry Combs, the defensive coordinator, comes back from the NFL last year in charge of the D-back. And how about Shaun Wade getting beat for another touchdown? What's that? 3 touchdowns now Shaun Wade has given up the last 2 games. And this guy's supposed to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft, and he came back. I mean, that's not. So the defense, I'm extremely disappointed in the defense so far for the Buckeyes. I'm not a big fan of their linebackers. I think they are average at best, and that's because of the experience they have. Early on, they made a couple of plays. Browning made a play. Who was it? Werner or Borland made a play early on. But for me, the linebackers, considering, and I say this every week, and I'm going to say it again, Randy Gradishar, Chris Spielman, Andy Katzenmoyer, Bobby Carpenter, James Laurinaitis, who was doing the game tonight. You go back and you look at the great linebackers that the Buckeyes have had, and Tough Borland, Baron Browning, and Pete Werner, that's the best they can find at linebacker? For a school that recruits like Ohio State recruits, that's the best they have to offer at linebacker right now? It's a little frustrating for me. I'm not happy with the defense. 1 sack tonight. They had, not Maryland, Rutgers. Maryland's next week. Rutgers had more sacks on Justin Fields than the Buckeyes had sacks on their 4 or 5 guys they played at quarterback, whatever that was tonight. That's not good. So, all right, I'm going to get to some of your comments, your questions here in a second. And they didn't lose the game, but it's just frustrating, to see this team up 35-3 and then to have a complete letdown and get outperformed, outplayed, out-hustled, out-muscled, out-everything in the second half. It's just frustrating. But they are 3-0. And so let's go back to the glass half full. They're 3-0. That's all that matters. If they go on and win the national championship this year, we're not going to remember this terrible second half against Greg Schiano's team from Rutgers, right? But if you're Ryan Day, and this is the mindset of a coach, if you're Ryan Day, you're pissed off, man. You can't be happy with the way they played in the second half. And maybe they need a little, maybe their heads were swelling a little bit. After the 2 wins, you go on the road, you beat Penn State, you come out, it's 35-3 at halftime, you think you're all that, a bag of chips, and you come out and you get outscored 24-14 in the second half. Maybe you need a little kick in the ass like that. And Ryan Day, you better give it to him this week as they go on the road at Maryland. The one thing we know, this year about college football, the one thing we know is no game is a guaranteed win for anybody. Pandemic season, crazy year. Indiana's tied with Ohio State for first place in the Big Ten East at 3-0. Indiana beat Michigan today. What was the final score of that game? Where are my sheets here? I got to get my sheets. Let's see here. What was it? 38-21. Indiana's tied for first place with the Buck. Indiana has defeated Penn State, Michigan so far this year. They're 3-0. Michigan's 1-2, which I kind of enjoy. I like that. It's not going to bother me there. It would be nice if they'd be undefeated, so that game would mean more, the last game of the regular season. But I have a hard time, rooting for Michigan. I just do, man. It's just whatever. Anyways, my point is pandemic season. Anything's possible. So Ryan Day can use this. Are you going to be champs or are you going to be chumps? What are you going to be? First half, we were champs. Second half, we were chumps. We can't be chumps in any half, any quarter, at any time this year if we want to be national champions. That's got to be the message to this football team. Just has to be. It's got to be the message. All right, let's get some questions, some comments in from you. We'll go to it on Twitter. For those of you who are watching us on Periscope on Twitter, send your questions. Let's see here. Oh, wrong Twitter account. I got to pull up my Twitter account. You can watch us on Facebook, Kenny Roda, Facebook, News Talk 1480 WHBC. On Twitter, at the Kenny Roda, or on Twitter at 1480 WHBC. Nick Aliazzi sent me this one on Twitter. Hey, Kenny, it's November 7th, and Michigan still sucks. OH. I.O. How's that, Nick? Got your I.O. back there for you. This one here from D. Haas 28. D. Haas 28, another good win for the Buckeyes, but this defense has to get better. I agree. There is too many points being giving up to cupcake teams. Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. Not happy with the defense but we knew the strength was going to be what? Justin Fields in the passing game. The running game is average at best. That, to me, it's a weakness. What I see in the running game compared to the last couple of years, the running game is a weakness. Against the better teams, you're not going to get the yards you're getting against the Nebraskas and the Rutgers. You're just not. So I'm with you about the defense, though, there, H-Doss. Let's see here. Kenneth Mate says, does anybody think Sermon has a slow twitch in his start? I just think he's slow. It's like it takes him forever to get going. It's like you want that running back to boom, shoot out of the gate like a sprinter. And it's like he gets the ball and he's in slow motion when he's running. And then he starts to pick it up, and then boom, he gets hit and he's down. That's a pretty good impression of Sermon's running style so far. I'm not impressed with him. Trey Sermon, I wanted to see more Steel Chambers, but like I said, he coughed it up twice tonight and he lost one of them. Maybe that's why. That's a weakness on this team. Master Teague's the best they have, and he's coming off an Achilles. Think about that. He's coming off an Achilles injury, tear. He's your best running back. What's that say about the running back position this year at Ohio State? Not good. How do you have these great recruiting classes and the best you have to offer is Master Teague with an Achilles injury, rehabbing and playing, and no linebackers? But they are 3-0. I got to keep deep breaths. Okay. They did win. They're 3-0. I'm looking at the bigger picture. I got a comment here on Periscope. You're acting like they lost from J. Rod all day. J. Rod all day. I know they won 35-3 at halftime, but I guess I view things from a coaching standpoint. I'm looking at the bigger picture. They're not going to lose to Rutgers. They're not going to lose next week at Maryland, although they did a couple of years ago, barely beat them by 1 point. I'm thinking down the road when they play Michigan State on the road, when they play Michigan at home. And they should win both of those games because both those teams aren't very good this year. But still, on the road, tough game. You're peeking ahead to Michigan in the last game of the regular season. So maybe you're not focused on Michigan State. And then it's Michigan. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. So I'm looking at those games and then beyond. Big Ten championship game. The college football playoff. This run game ain't going to do jack squat against Clemson. This run game ain't going to do jack squat against Alabama. So that's why I have, I guess, the approach I have tonight in looking at I guarantee you, J-Rod all day, I guarantee you, even though they won by 22, Ryan Day is pissed tonight. He is not happy. He's happy with Justin Fields, Olave, and Garrett Wilson. That's it. Offensive line wasn't great tonight. Justin Fields took too many shots tonight. Didn't run the ball well. I mean, how many times did Justin Fields have to duck out of the way, right? And then step up and throw the ball because they came free on a blitz and nobody touched these guys. Pretty good movement right there for an old guy, right? That's unacceptable. Yeah, it's a third game, Roadman. Relax, chill out. It's pandemic season. Didn't have any non-conference games to get ready for conference play. Okay, fine. You can look at it that way. But again, it's the coach in me that thinks this way. Big picture. Down the road. I'm thinking national championship. Okay? It's national championship or bust for me. I agree with Ryan Day. You're going to be champs or are you going to be chumps? Which one are you going to be? So that's why, J-Rod all day, I'm thinking that way. Okay? Let's get some more of these Twitter questions or comments in. What else do we got here? Roadman, do you think Justin Fields can keep this up the entire season? Great question, dude. Great question. Let me go back and look. I want to pull up his numbers from last year. I think I have it off the top of my head. It was like 41 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions the entire year last year. Let's see. Let's go back. And yeah, 41 TD passes last year, 3 interceptions last year. That's it. All right? He's 11-0 this year. So as an Ohio State starting quarterback, Justin Fields has thrown 52 touchdown passes with only 3 interceptions. Yes, he can keep it up. Against the regular season schedule, for sure. It's not a very good regular season schedule. Penn State was their toughest opponent, I think a lot of people felt, and they beat them last week. Went into Penn State last week and got the win. What was it? They won by 13. What was it last week? 38-25, right? So in the regular season, yeah, but when you get to the big... Now, question is, who are they going to play in the Big Ten championship game if they go undefeated in the regular season? Wisconsin's missed the last 2 games because of COVID, right? I don't know. So through the Big Ten, there's really nobody else that's any good besides Ohio State. Indiana, yeah, we'll see when Ohio State plays Indiana, and Indiana has to come to Ohio State. They're off to a 3-0 start. Great story. Fantastic story. Beat Penn State. They beat Michigan today for the first time since 1987. How'd that one taste, Jim Harbaugh? Huh? You pulling up those khakis a little bit? Feeling like you got a wedgie, Jim Harbaugh? But yeah, great story for Indiana. Happy for them. But let's see what they do when they come to Columbus against the Buckeyes. But regular season, it shouldn't be a problem. Big Ten championship game even. Shouldn't be a problem for the Buckeyes. Buckeyes should be 9-0 going into the college football playoff. Then it's a matter of, all right, who do they match up in the first round? I know I'm putting the cart ahead of the horse and all that. We should talk about tonight's game. But let me look at the scores. Last time I checked, big game tonight, Notre Dame and Clemson squaring off tonight. And Clemson, of course, playing without Trevor Lawrence because of COVID. Last time I checked, it was 33 all in overtime. So let me pull up the scores here and see if I can get an update on that score for my phone. You know what pisses me off? It's like when Apple comes out with a new phone. Anybody notice this? Apple comes out with a new phone. Your old phone starts acting up. It's really slow, and you start having problems with it because they control your mind, your wallet, your life. Does Apple, right? So they make you go out and buy the Apple iPhone 12 or iPhone 13 and a half or mini or whatever the hell it is. Let's see if I can get my phone to work here without the people at Apple controlling the speed and what comes in and out of my phone here. All right, here we go. Pulling up the scores, NCAAF. All right, we're done. Give me those scores. 40-40, Notre Dame and Clemson in double overtime. Clemson number 1 in the country. Notre Dame number 4 in the country. DJ Uiagalelei. Did I come even close on that? Uiagalelei. I don't know. He's thrown for 426 yards. Clemson's backup quarterback. Trevor Lawrence ain't playing at Notre Dame. Let's just call him DJ the QB. All right? DJ the QB for Clemson, the backup back. He's he's thrown for 426 yards against Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish. I hate Notre Dame, man. Despise the Crying Irish of Notre Dame. Was force-fed them growing up as a kid by my grandfather, and I didn't like. The only thing I liked was Lindsey Nelson, the play-by-play guy, because he wore plaid sports coats. That's where my love for plaid comes. It did. It's from Lindsey Nelson. Look it up. Google Lindsey Nelson, Notre Dame play-by-play guy, and look at some of his sports coats from back in the day. That's the only thing I liked about watching Notre Dame football growing up as a kid on tape delay. Sunday mornings. They'd play Saturday. Sunday mornings, you'd watch Notre Dame, and then after the game, you'd go to church. They'd play them at like 9 or 10 in the morning, and then you made mass. Anyways, DJ Ugalali, DJ the QB. Dude, he's a freshman, 6'4", 250 from Bellflower, California. Trevor Lawrence is out. And this kid comes in, won last week, and they're in double overtime or triple overtime now, whatever it is. So that's what I'm looking at. J-Rod all day. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm looking at Ohio State and comparing them to what Clemson is doing, comparing them to what Alabama is doing, because one of those three will win the national championship this year. Nobody else. LSU stinks. Georgia was overrated. Florida's not for real. The Big Ten sucks. Ain't nobody in the Pac-12 outside of maybe Oregon who will have a shot at getting to the college football playoff. Oklahoma's a joke. Texas ain't nothing. Ohio State, Alabama, or Clemson will win the national championship this year. All right? So that's what I'm looking at. I'm comparing the Buckeyes to what I see from those teams. And I'll keep you posted on this Notre Dame Clemson game. So with that in mind, how do I see Ohio State after 3 games? After beating this Rutgers team tonight, 49-27. 35-3 at halftime. First half felt really good, right? How could you not? 35-3 at halftime. Justin Fields to Williams, 38-yard touchdown pass. Rutgers gets a field goal at 7-3. That's the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, Justin Fields, 7-yard run. Justin Fields, 6-yard pass to Chris Olave. Justin Fields, 8-yard pass to Garrett Wilson. Master Teague, 9-yard touchdown run. 35-3 at halftime, 353 yards for the Buckeyes. Dominated in the first half. And so maybe, do you give them a mulligan for the second half because they were dominating at 35-3 and it's hard to stay focused? You know you're better than them, you shouldn't get too worked up about it. I don't operate that way. It's not the way this thing works. Let's look at the final team stats. So they had 353 yards at halftime, and they finished with 517. Hard to get mad at a team that scored 49, 517 yards, and won by 22. But again, if you're thinking bigger picture, like I am, then there are some concerns. Offensive line is a concern. Too many hits on Justin Fields, and the running game is a concern. I don't know if it's the O-line or if it's the running backs. I'll lean more towards the running backs. Although, who was the dude? Let me see here. Where are my halftime notes? I got stuff all over the place here. Halftime notes. No, that's Miller, the offensive lineman. Dude had a hat trick in the first half. Miller. Let me see. I want to. Is it Harry Miller? Harry Miller, number 76. Dude had a hat trick. 3 holding calls in the first half. So while, and I go back to J-Rod all day, while it may seem like, they won, and I'm talking about all the negative stuff, I guarantee you, Kerry Combs, the defensive coordinator's talking like I am. Ryan Day's talking like I am, okay? Other coaches are in the position groups. They're talking to the linebackers this way. They're talking to the Johnson. Coach Johnson's talking to the defensive lineman. 1 sack. That's all we could get tonight was 1 sack. Secondary, Sean Wade. Kerry Combs is talking to Sean Wade. Where's this first-round draft pick that was coming back for us? So they've obviously got some things to work on. No question about it. No question about it. All right, what do we got here? Adam Cerny, go Bucks. Adam and Megan enjoyed the game. Loves Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. And he says, I agree. Looking towards the Big Ten and the championship game. Beyond that, they've got to get better. Okay. J-Rod all day is telling me that Notre Dame, let's update this baby. Notre Dame at home. See if this thing has indeed gone final. He's telling me Notre Dame has just defeated Clemson. Let's see this, baby. If that's the case. Now, Clemson's number one in the country. They're playing Notre Dame without their Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. A true freshman, DJ, the QB. It was 40-40 going into the third overtime. And let's see here. I've got to find it on, again, bear with me. 47-40. It didn't go to a third overtime. My bad. It's only two overtimes. It was 40-40. And Notre Dame wins it in double overtime. Double OT, Notre Dame wins it. So at the end of regulation, it was 33-33. The ukulele quarterback, DJ Ukulele, however you pronounce his last name, he scored to put Clemson up 40-33 in the first overtime. Notre Dame tied it on a Williams touchdown run, 40-40. In the second overtime, Williams scored, and I'm guessing because what the final score is, that DJ the QB. What happened? 3rd and 24. Let's see here. Yeah, they did score. They got the ball the second possession of that second overtime and could not match Notre Dame's touchdown. So Notre Dame beats Clemson 47-40. So Clemson, the number one team in the country, suffers its first loss. What's that mean for the playoff? Great question. I think the committee will take into consideration that Clemson went on the road to Notre Dame and took the Fighting Irish to double overtime with a freshman quarterback in place of their Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. So Clemson, if they don't lose again, to me, still gets into the college football playoff because outside of Ohio State, Alabama, and now Notre Dame, I don't think there's another team that's better than those four. Sure as hell isn't Oklahoma. Oklahoma State, Texas, LSU, Georgia, none of them. Cincinnati is going to make an argument, but Cincinnati? Really? Over Clemson? Come on. If Clemson played Cincinnati with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, Clemson win by 3 touchdowns at least. But J-Rod all day, it'll be interesting to see how this does play out. But I think the committee will look at this and say it was a road game, and Trevor Lawrence wasn't allowed to play because of the protocols, and therefore they'll take Clemson in if they only have one loss the rest of the way. Now, here's what I don't know about that game and about the ACC. So let me pull up on my phone here the ACC standings. What do we got here? Standings, there we go. Because Notre Dame's in the ACC this year, right? So Notre Dame now is 6-0 in conference play. Clemson 6-1 in conference play. Notre Dame 7-0 overall. They were the 4th-ranked team. Notre Dame 7-0 overall. Clemson was number 1. They're now 7-1. So what you'll see is Alabama move up to 1, Ohio State to 2, Notre Dame to 3, and Clemson fall to number 4. They won't fall any further than 4, in my opinion. Miami's 5-1 in conference play. I'm not a believer in the Hurricanes. I could be wrong on this, and it's the pandemic year, so who knows. But I don't know what the breakdown is. Like, they don't have the East and West for the Atlantic Coast. Here, let me do this. Let me go to Clemson's page. We're talking more about Clemson than we are Ohio State. That's all right. Let's see here. Clemson, first in the ACC. Yeah, I don't know what the breakdown is as far as East-West. Like, Ohio State's in the East, Wisconsin's in the West in the Big Ten. So maybe, I don't know, is Notre Dame on one side, Clemson's on the other, and the possibility of them playing again? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I don't think the committee, if Clemson doesn't lose again and Trevor Lawrence comes back, and when Trevor Lawrence played, they were undefeated, I don't think they'll hold that against them. Let's get some more of these other questions about the Buckeyes and comments about Ohio State in here as we. You know what? Let me do this. Let me check my good buddy Steve Hellwagon. If you are a Buckeyes fan and you want the latest on the Ohio State Buckeyes, by all means, you've got to go to bucknuts.com. Steve Hellwagon, bucknuts.com. They do a great job of updating you on everything and anything that's happening with Ohio State football. Let's see. Steve Hellwagon, Rutgers outgained Ohio State in the second half, 283 to 158, and outscored them 24-14. It's not just me talking this way, J-Rod all day, all right? But you flip it over to the first half, the Buckeyes had, 6 possessions. They scored 5 touchdowns out of the 6 possessions. So they dominated 353 to 83 at halftime, but were outscored and out-yardaged in the second half. Any word on Garrett Wilson? That's my biggest thing. I want to know what the injury was to Garrett Wilson. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Let's see here. Anything here? 11 Warriors, another good website. 11 Warriors, follow them on Twitter. They do. Let's see. Ryan Day, I guess in his press conference here, it says Ryan Day gets asked about Notre Dame's double overtime win over Clemson. He didn't address it directly, but acknowledged it's been a strange season in college football and could get stranger. COVID, knock on wood. You hope the Buckeyes don't have an outbreak. Justin Fields doesn't miss any games because I'll tell you what, the kid that plays quarterback for Clemson, the freshman backing up Trevor Lawrence, DJ, the QB, better than anybody Ohio State has. Ohio State's backup quarterback position is not good. So if Justin Fields were to go down, the Buckeyes would be in trouble. Ryan Day, any conference win is a good win, but we're critical. That's a good thing. We want perfection. So do I, Brian. See, I told you. Think like a coach. We're looking for greatness. That's what they're looking for, perfection, greatness. So they can't be happy with this. Ryan Day asked if he's seen that many trick plays in a game. No, especially those onside kicks. It was like a New York sidewalk. Said the Buckeyes were expecting Rutgers to be creative on special teams, though. On the second half performance by the Buckeyes, Ryan Day just didn't play very great. Shortened to the point, I get. Did Justin Fields expect to play late into today's game? To be honest, no. I don't think anybody did. Meaning they expected to play a lot of backups into the after the first series of the third quarter. But because they stunk the second half, Justin Fields on the offense, I don't think we're at our peak yet. Let's see here. Justin Hilliard on defense. There's a huge sense of urgency. We can't have an off game. Well, they had an off half, but they built up the big enough lead where it didn't come back to bite them. So those are some of the comments. No word yet on the injury, if you will, to Garrett Wilson, if it's anything serious. I think if it was, I would have seen something there that would have jumped out at me. The other thing that pissed me off tonight about the Buckeyes, well, I'll add to it, 9 penalties, 74 yards. Too many penalties. Can't have almost 10 penalties in a game. Can't do that. Get away with it against Rutgers. When you play the better teams, again, that's the theme. When you play the better teams, you just can't do that. Rutgers had 2 sacks. The Buckeyes had 1 sack. Let's see. Rushing yards, the Buckeyes 203. They gave up 141. So, all in all, a good night. All right, let's get back to some of your questions. Drifting off topic there and everything. It's late. I'm going to go watch Dave Chappelle on Saturday Night Live here. Going to wrap up in a few minutes here. Let's see. What do we got here? More questions. What's this one here? Roadman. Do you think Ryan Day is doing a good job coaching this team? Yes, I do. I think Ryan Day is doing an outstanding job, and I think he will use that second half and the lack of a great performance, seeking perfection and greatness. He will use that as motivation for these guys and say, see, look, they beat us in the second half. We can't let that happen again this year. Urban Meyer was a great motivator. He pushed the right buttons with each player, each unit. Did it when he was at BG, did it when he was at Florida, did it when he was at Ohio State. And Ryan Day, when you're around Urban Meyer, you learn those things. And I think Ryan Day does a very nice job of that. I really do. I think Ryan Day does a fantastic job of motivating the guys. Champs are chumps, finding a motto, finding those sayings, whatever it is, and having some fun. Not some fun with it, but having a focal point for his team. Craig Easterday, what's up, Craig? Hard to enjoy the win. Our receivers are fantastic, and we have the best quarterback in the country. Master Teague was better tonight. He was a factor in the passing game. Good point, Craig. Good point. He had 3 catches for 37 yards. So that was something different. He almost had 100 yards of total offense tonight, Master Teague. Thank you for pointing that out. I totally forgot about that, Craig. Great point on your part. Craig also said defense is unimpressive. They got no pass rush, 1 sack. We appear to be playing a lot of zone coverage. Unless we pressure the quarterback, we are leaving receivers wide open. Who can we count on in coverage? Can't even count on Shaun Wade. He's given up 3 touchdowns in 3 games. He's supposed to be the best of the bunch. We knew it was going to be a young group, though, Craig, right? That secondary, bringing Kerry Combs back to be the D coordinator, but also work with those secondary guys. Wade and Proctor, that's about it. Hooker's not bad, but it's a work in progress. They want to beat Clemson. They want to beat Notre Dame. They want to beat Alabama. They're going to have to get a hell of a lot better by the time the college football playoff rolls around. And Craig also says, Lindsey Nelson was fabulous, the voice of the Cotton Bowl. Lindsey Nelson. And he had the plaid jacket on. So thanks for those, Craig. Appreciate those comments. Let's see if we got any more Twitter comments to get out to you. If not, we'll get out of here today. I want to thank, once again, Royal Docks Brewing Company. They brew the post-game show for us each and every week. Royal Docks Brewing Company brewing the OSU Postgame Show. If just Google Royal Docks Brewing Company in Canton, Jackson Township. Fabulous place to go watch Buckeye games. They have watch parties there for Buckeye games. Good eats. So if you're looking for a place to go check out the Buckeyes, you want to try some unique beer, IPAs, local beers. They do a great job. They really do. So thanks to Royal Docks Brewing Company for being the sponsor of the Ohio State postgame show. And the next game for the Buckeyes, there you see it at the bottom of the screen, November 14th at Maryland, 3:30 kickoff. So that means after that game, which, will be, 3:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock, we'll do this again. Ohio State postgame show. All right? So all in all, hey, the bottom line is they're 3-0. But there's a lot to work on for this Ohio State football team if they want to be national champions. And that's my focal point. It will be each and every week because I don't think there's anybody that can give the Buckeyes a run for the money in the Big Ten. I may be looking way too far ahead, but as I look at the Big Ten, I just don't see the Buckeyes losing in the Big Ten. even if they have off halves like they did tonight. I just think they'll get through the Big Ten. So I'm gonna go back and watch the Notre Dame Clemson game. I'm gonna go watch Alabama's games. I'm gonna focus on those teams and the teams that are in and around the Buckeyes in the rankings. But you're 3-0, and the great thing about 3-0, and I'm gonna steal this from Urban Meyer, is what? Tip of the cap to Herb, by the way, national champs 2014. You're 3-0, you have a chance to go 4-0. Right? If you're 2-1, you don't have a chance to go 4-0. So they did what they had to do. They won the game tonight. Justin Fields, spectacular. Heisman Trophy frontrunner again tonight, 24 of 28, 314, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Rushed it 6 times for only 7 yards, but he scored on one of those rushes. On the year, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. 2 rushing touchdowns, so 13 touchdowns in 3 games for the Buckeyes, and he's completing 87% of his passes. And Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave are the best wide receiver tandem in the country. That's what's carrying the Buckeyes right now. The running game's got to get better. The O-line's got to get better. And the defense as a whole has to get a hell of a lot better. But they're 3-0, and they'll look to go 4-0 next week against Maryland. All right, thanks to everybody who checked us out tonight on Facebook, on Twitter. We'll do this again next week. No Browns postgame show tomorrow, by the way, because the Browns are off. It's a bye week. So next Saturday, next Sunday, we're going to do a Buckeyes postgame show on Saturday and a Browns postgame show on Sunday. All right, folks, until we meet again, please, please, please do me a favor. We're still battling this coronavirus, this pandemic. It isn't over. It's not even close to being over. So please, not just for yourself, but for your family members, your neighbors, for somebody other than yourself. Wash your damn hands, wear your damn mask, social distance, okay? And treat others like you want to be treated. It's really that simple. Congratulations to the Buckeyes. They get a win tonight. Let's put up the final score one last time up there on the screen. 49-27 over Rutgers. We'll talk to you after next week's game against Maryland. See you. Bye.